beginning Thursday on TV8, Iowa's news leader.
Sue Mason on TV8, Iowa's news leader.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, February 5th. I'm Harry.
McEwen. Paula, Zahn is in France with just 3 days to go until the Olympics. Welcome to CBS This Morning.
Making headlines this morning, the candidates comb New Hampshire for primary votes, and we're going to talk with Democrat Tom Harkin this morning.
Plus, job come-ons that tempt the unemployed. They can cost you, not pay you.
That's bad. And Dan Rather previews tonight's 48 Hours. Will we ever know what really happened in Dallas on November 20, 1963?
Do you remember where you were?
Of course I do. Miss Smith's music class. Never forget.
Berlin, Germany. First time I ever heard my father cry.
Just an amazing thing that's happened in the last 6 months or so with the whole Oliver Stone film and people sort of re-examining what they thought about it. And CBS as a news organization has done hours and hours and hours of documentaries. 48 Hours goes back, takes a little bit of a look at that and then updates some information. And Dan interviewed Oliver Stone about this whole thing, and he'll be along in a little while to talk a little bit more about the controversy around the assassination of President Kennedy in a 48 Hours presentation that will be on television tonight. And how healthy is your heart? We're going to have a quiz that could give you a clue. And Paula is along this morning with what's happening in France today.
Bonjour, Harry and Mark. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Maribel, France. This is the finish line for all 5 women's alpine events. You might be surprised to know that the women's alpine team is actually stronger than the men's U.S. alpine team. Coming up in our next half hour, you might also be surprised by a report my Olympic partner Tim McCarver has. He will reveal the myths of the current trend of cross-training. Harry and Mark?
Oh, that is a good look.
She's got the coat I was going to wear to the Olympics. God, I have to go out shopping all over again. Take a look at the weather map this morning. It looks like she could have been standing in New England. You asking me why? Well, there's snow on the ground, a fresh 3 to 6 inches of snow covering your lovely landscape in the northern sections of New England. Along the Gulf Coast and southeast shoreline, it is pouring. It'll be dry just about everywhere else, but it's going to rain in California tomorrow. Take it to the bank. Here?
France is going to be wardrobe hell for you.
I'm so worried.
Time now to get up to speed on this morning's news, and a sad story to begin this newscast with. 3 people, including 2 firefighters, died this morning in a fire at the Indianapolis Hotel where the Mike Tyson jury was sequestered. 10 others were hurt in the 3rd floor fire, which filled the hotel with thick smoke. Firefighters safely evacuated the 15 Tyson jurors and 11 other people.
These guys done a hell of a job.
What was it like up there?
Hot and smoky. We're lucky to be out.
The Tyson jurors were moved to an undisclosed location. The boxer's rape trial will be delayed at least half a day. The prosecution closed yesterday by playing a tape of a 911 call Tyson's accuser made the day after the alleged attack. She told the dispatcher she had been afraid to press charges.
But someone nationally known against someone just like me, a regular person, I mean, people are just going to naturally believe him and think that I'm going for the money. You don't know that.
Tyson's lawyer suggests that the woman concocted her story, intending to sue later. President Bush is said to be looking forward to signing a bill Congress passed yesterday extending benefits for the unemployed who have used up their eligibility. Mr. Bush twice rejected similar bills last year, but recession fighting tops his election year agenda these days, as Randall Pinkston reports.
President Bush appeared before the National Grocers Association full of sauce and vinegar for critics of his economic growth plan.
The professional pessimists tell us America has become weak and disabled, that our economy has fallen and it can't get up. Well, that is just plain bunk.
Mr. Bush was preaching to the choir as he repeated his shopping list of ideas. Incentives to boost investments and real estate, and a capital gains tax cut, insisting that his plan is best for the nation's economy.
Government is far too big, and it spends too much, and I am going to keep it within its limits of this budget agreement that is in place right now.
Mr. Bush showed the effects of a constant barrage from sniping opponents. During a tour of the grocers' exhibits, the president said he didn't have hard feelings toward his critics, but in the next breath, he came down hard on Congress.
We just keep challenging the Congress capacity to get this economy on the move. We got a good, sound, stimulative package. And this is no time for political carping. It's time to get the thing moving.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan gave the House Budget Committee another hard dose of economic reality, calling the economy's performance disappointing. He expressed hopes that past interest rate cuts should ignite a recovery, but if it doesn't happen, the Fed is prepared to act again.
We are, of course, continuing to evaluate whether some additional insurance in the way of further monetary ease would be appropriate.
Another interest rate cut would be welcome news for Mr. Bush. A reduction could spark substantial investment, create new jobs, and hopefully for Mr. Bush, raise his standing in the polls. Randall Kingston, CBS News, the White House.
Alan Greenspan's comments were welcomed on Wall Street. The market reacted by climbing to another record high. The Dow Industrials gained over 38 points to close near 3273 in Tokyo today. The market closed lower. The Nikkei average dropped 63 points. That's about 0.25%. A group of Washington state businesses and government leaders met yesterday with Baseball Commissioner Fay Vincent. At issue, the future of the Seattle Mariners following controversy over a $100 million Japanese offer to buy the team. And joining us now is Seattle Mayor Norm Rice. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
You went to see Fay Vincent yesterday, but didn't talk about the purchase offer?
Our whole plan was to come forward and show that the Seattle community, business, all government were committed to keeping the Mariners here with a $13 million package of new revenues on top of what we already had to say. We want baseball in Seattle, and the Seattle fans want baseball there, and we're ready to do.
Baseball's rules are pretty clear, though, about foreign ownership. Do you think he'll reconsider? What chance do you really have of moving baseball away from its rule, its hard and fast rule?
I think the prospects are good. Washington State is an economy that is an export economy, whether it's airplanes or agriculture. We are exporting our goods, and we look outward. We have a lot of trading partners, and I think the ownership of the Mariners that is proposed is a person who's a 15-year resident with children in our schools and is a good corporate citizen that complements the forward-looking direction that Seattle and Washington State want.
Do you think people in the rest of the country don't get it? Because there is wide-based community support for this ownership proposal up in the Pacific Northwest. Do you think baseball doesn't get it? Do you think maybe the rest of the country doesn't understand what's going on in your community?
I hope that the rest of the country understands there's a change in the world. 2 years ago, we didn't know Nelson Mandela would be free. We didn't know the communism would fall. I think we need to understand we live in a global world with a global economy, and we've got to look outward in order to have the economic security we need.
Mayor Rice, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Do
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Athletes from around the world are arriving in Albertville, France, where the Winter Olympics begin Saturday. Under the circumstances, you'd think the one thing everyone would want is plenty of snow. But as Mark Phillips reports, it's not quite that simple.
It's been snowing in the French Alps, which is just as well. They are going to hold the Olympics here after all. But as all winter sports enthusiasts know, there are basically two kinds of snow. Not enough and too much. For a while here, it looked like the Albertville area would have the not enough kind. Now there's some concern about the too much kind. Too much snow makes it hard to walk. It makes it hard on dogs. And it makes it hard to drive, which is a worry here even when it's not snowing. How tens of thousands of athletes, officials, and spectators will get between the 13 locales of these games on mountain roads, even when it's not snowing, has already been a matter of some local discussion. Extra plows have been brought in. They're getting a pre-games test. More to the point, too much snow makes it hard to ski, and particularly hard to ski jump. Everybody knows it helps to be crazy to be a ski jumper. The Swedes and Norwegians were out proving that. With this kind of snow, there are basically three things to do: shovel it, plow it, and wonder when it'll stop. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Moutier, France.
Like that line, two kinds of snow, either too much or not enough. And our expert on that very subject is here with us this morning at 9 minutes after the hour. Good morning, Mark.
I don't ski, Harry, but I will be down at the end of it around that fireplace with the...
Doing that whole opera
That whole thing there, that goes, opera ski thing. Good morning, everybody. Let's talk about the weather. First of all, we have some serious weather to talk about. Some thunderstorms down in the southeastern part of the country. In central Florida, there is a thunderstorm watch until 10 a.m. Central Time. You haven't seen a tornado in the area. What that means is conditions are favorable for a tornado because lots of severe weather in the area. But until 10 o'clock local time for Central Florida, please be very, very careful. There is snow up in New England this morning. We'll say some places 4 to 6 inches of snow on the ground. It's still snowing up there. Build a snowman, have fun. You're going to see the big story is going to be the wind, though. It's going to be gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour, and that's going to make the wind chills drop a little bit. Real quickly, put this right here next to Valentine, Nebraska. I'm warning you because I'm taking care of you. Take care of that Valentine's. You only have another week or so. Rain down again through the Gulf Coast, heavier towards the east, as we talked about through Florida, as opposed to the west. Out to the west, a nice day, some clouds down through Southern California. Tomorrow it's going to rain in Southern California, just about the whole state. Take that to the bank and do something you haven't done in a while. Look for the umbrella. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Just when you thought we'd seen all the heat that we were going to see this winter, another day like this. Mostly sunny skies, temperatures upper 40s to upper 50s, the wind out of the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. What have we done to deserve this? Have a great day. Enjoy it. Skip work if you want to.
We have the wake-up call coming up, plus we'll get you back in touch with Albert and let you know what's going on over there as we speak. Harry?
Thanks very much, Mark. With the poll showing President Bush more vulnerable, the Democratic nomination is looking more attractive. Iowa Senator Tom Harkin was in the race early, and he has been fighting hard to win over voters in New Hampshire's first-in-the-nation primary. Still, the polls show him trailing Bill Clinton among the state's Democrats, and Senator Tom Harkin joins us this morning from Manchester, New Hampshire. Good morning, Senator.
Morning, Harry.
A lot of people around the country are just beginning to focus on this year's election and about the primary season. Let's talk a little bit about you and what you stand for. You proudly call yourself a liberal. In this day and age, people like George Bush have made that a dirty word. Can you run as a liberal and be successful?
Well, I believe if you stand for something, and quite frankly, we have to define what we mean by liberal. If by liberal you mean someone who looks ahead and not behind, someone who is willing to try new ideas and throw out the old ones that don't work. If by liberal you mean someone that cares about people, about their jobs and their housing, their health and their education, and if by liberal you mean someone who cares about your civil rights and your civil liberties, if that's what you mean by a liberal, like John Kennedy said, that's me, and I'm proud to be one.
But you know, folks over the years have come to sort of at least think of liberals as big government and big spending, and in this day and age that sort of stuff isn't going to wash, right?
Well, you see, I just saw a clip of George Bush a little bit ago. You had him up saying that the government's too big and spending too much money. Well, you know, he's right. The Reagan-Bush administration put more people on the government payroll, and secondly, we're spending too much money. We're spending too much money on welfare payments and food stamps and unemployment benefits and bailing out S&Ls and tax breaks for the rich. That's the Republican legacy. And what I want to do is to change that economic mix. What we ought to be doing is putting people back to work in this country. That's the whole basis of my campaign, is that no more tax breaks for the rich. Quit sending our jobs out of this country. Quit spending so much money defending Europe and Japan. They don't need it any longer. Let's bring that money home and invest it here and put people to work.
You mentioned tax breaks for the rich. Let's look back at the State of the Union address for a moment or two, if you may. One of the things that the president was adamant about is he wants to cut capital gains tax. What do you think?
Well, that's absolutely nuts. Two-thirds of the benefits of the money in a capital gains tax cut goes to the richest 1% of our people. Now, you know, what I hear from Bush is the way to get this economy going is more of what we've had in the last 12 years. But what we've had in the last 12 years is trickle-down economics, where you give everything to the people at the top, hope that it trickles down. That's what's caused the economic mess that we're in today. Bush says more of the same, and quite frankly, I must admit, I must add to this also, Harry, that the other Democrats in this race beside me are saying the same thing. They're all for capital gains tax breaks. And I think it's time to throw out the old, bring in the new. It's time for a break with the past, time for a new economic program that isn't just giving everything to the rich and hope that it trickles down.
This is not an easy business you're in, trying to win a Democratic nomination. Clinton seems to be ahead in the polls right now in New Hampshire. What do you have to do to get your message through?
Just keep telling people what I've been telling them, that it's time for a new economic program for America. More of the same isn't going to do it. More tax breaks for the rich, more capital gains, that's not going to do it. What we have to do is start getting people to work on jobs, building the infrastructure of America. We've got to rebuild our roads and bridges and highways, mass transit. We've got to start building high-speed rail for the future. We've got to build new communication systems, new energy systems in America. And we have to start investing in early childhood education. and get these kids early in life and get them started on the right track, and a national health insurance program for all Americans. Now, if we do that, then we'll start building this country up. It's the difference, I guess, it's really, you know, whether or not you think that, that the way to get this country going is all you have to do is give more money to those at the top. If you believe that, well, you ought to vote for Bush or maybe one of these other Democrats. But if you believe, like I do, that the power of the federal government ought to be used to start investing in putting people to work and giving them training and building up the manufacturing base of this country and the infrastructure, then that's what I'm talking about in this campaign, and I believe that's the direction we've got to go.
Senator Tom Harkin, we thank you for joining us this morning. Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mark?
It's 15 minutes past the hour. Up next, want ads that prey on the unemployed. Our Hattie Kaufman has an important warning if you're looking for a job. And stay with us in our next half hour to find out if you're headed for a heart attack. Plus, an Olympic report from Albertville on the myth of cross-training. And Gene Siskel on Shining Through with Michael Douglas and Melanie Griffith.
Think about it. Your home is your biggest investment. An old, undependable garage door can really detract from your home's appearance. Let the professionals at Adams Door Company replace your old garage door with a Rainer Decade steel door featuring a lifetime warranty. Visit Adams Door Company's new showroom at the Westport Home Center and see a complete display of full-size replacement garage doors. You depend on your door